Chevy trucks, Shooting Sports America. Brought to you by Ruger, Weatherby, and Winchester.
From the split-second timing and flawless hand-eye coordination needed to break clay targets flying 65 miles per hour, to the rock-steady hold and pinpoint accuracy needed to hit a dime-sized bullseye at 50 meters, international shooting spans an incredible range of marksmanship skills. The 1996 Summer Olympics will include 15 different shooting events, from trap and skeet to rifle, pistol, and air gun competitions. So stay tuned as we get set to cover the 1995 U.S. National Shooting Championships, a key stop for our shooters on the road to the Atlanta Games. Hi, I'm Gresham, shooting editor for Sports Afield magazine. And on behalf of the National Shooting Sports Foundation, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, site of the 1995 U.S. National Shotgun Championships. And joining me to cover the action is fellow Sports Afield editor, Tom Gresham.
Hi, Grits. It's good to be here with you.
Tom, the first events we'll be covering are the finals of the men's and women's double trap championships. And with 2 targets in the air at once, this is the toughest of all the shotgun games.
Oh, no doubt about it. At every station, shooters face 2 targets thrown simultaneously, both angling away from the shooter in different directions. And with targets traveling in excess of 50 miles an hour, shooters must break that first target literally in a split second in order to have a shot at the second target before it gets out of range.
In the men's event, shooters fired 150 preliminary targets, with the top 6 shooters advancing to a final 50-target championship round. Medals are awarded based on the combined score of both the preliminary round and the championship round.
Our American team is super strong. We didn't quite dominate the world this year, but we were right in there second, and we've got a lot of depth. When you're shooting good, you hope you keep that roll going all the way through for the medal.
Earlier, I had a chance to talk to U.S. team shotgun coach Lloyd Woodhouse. Lloyd, our shotgun shooters are really doing well in international competition.
Yes, in the last 2 or 3 years, they've done extremely well, particularly in the Pan American Games and the World Cups and the World Championships around the world. We've won what a lot of countries considered more than our share of medals.
And I hear we've got some really great young shooters coming along.
We've got some young people coming on that are exceeding their expectations in their development. Young Chris Kiernan is coming on really strong. We have a young lady shooter, just turned 16, Kim Rohde. She is a top lady in the international double trap right now, so doing extremely well.
And for the big question, Lloyd, how are we going to do next year in the Olympic Games in Atlanta?
You know, I was afraid you were going to ask that, but I'm really confident. We've been building a team to peak out in '96 at Atlanta, and we're right on schedule. A young man by the name of Lance Bade, who is shooting extremely well, along with Josh Lakato, Steve Pulls, John Opio, just to name a few of our very top shooters. I think we're right on schedule for the '96 Games.
That's all I've did is given up everything to shoot this game to make the Olympics. And if I don't make it, I'll be disappointed. But if I keep shooting like I am, training hard, I'll make it.
Okay, here we go with the men's final. We go into this with 300 possible points, and Lance Bade is leading with 272 going into this.
Yes, and he has a 7-target lead over his next nearest competitor, David Alcorizo.
That's why you'll see them bearing down. Even if they're not in first place, they're breaking every target. Okay, that was Brett Erickson. Now, John Opie will be shooting. I tell you, these fellas are shooting so well in this final round, I guarantee you some of them wish they'd shot that way in the preliminaries. Steve Pulls.
Pulls is a veteran. He's been on this U.S. Olympic team for 5 years, I believe it is.
There's David, and he breaks both up.
Tom, they're off to a great start.
I tell you, they're smoking them all. Even in this wind, even under this pressure of a final in a national championship, these guys are just crushing these targets. These targets are so fast, these guys have to shoot so quickly. You'll notice how they snuggle up to that gun before they call for the target. They really get locked in before they call. There's no time for readjusting once that bird's in the air.
Well, all of these shooters have spent years developing this skill.
Their rhythm is almost like a dance, where they go from one shooter to the next. The individual shooters have their own tempo.
Well, Lance is the only left-hand shooter out there. You know, he's been shooting on the U.S. team for 3 years. Excellent shot.
Okay, we're coming into the last few targets here. David Alcariz is going to take second. They're building their points. This is the first of 3 shoots they have to go to qualify for the Olympic Games in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Here goes Lance for his last pair. Lance Bate ends up being the national champion in double trap shooting.
And he won it going away. He came into this thing with a 7-target lead and went out substantially in front.
We're in a shoot-off here for 3rd place between Steve Pools and John Opio.
Yes, they start on station 3, and each one just stays on that station until one misses after they've all shot the same number of targets. One thing about it, if anything is going through their minds out there except breaking that target, they're not going to be out there very long.
Yeah, that's right. But it only takes one little bit of a flinch, one little momentary lapse of concentration, and that target has gotten away from me out there. Tell you, we're getting some sudden gust here. I tell you, the wind all of a sudden has started gusting.
That could make a difference.
Opio takes a lot more time getting his thoughts together when he gets up to the line.
He has a lot more to lose shooting last. It works for him.
That's right. Whatever it is, don't change it. I tell you, these guys are just shooting lights out. An incredible performance because the conditions are actually more difficult now than they were earlier in the day.
The amazing thing to me is that they're right in the middle of most of these targets.
Because they can break these targets anytime they want to. It's only the ability to keep thinking, to stay on target, to focus. It's just a matter of focus. That's it. John Opio has dropped the target. So Steve Pools ends up winning 3rd place all by himself after 42 targets broken consecutively. It was a great shoot-off. And, of course, these guys are going to meet each other again as they go to the other events to prepare them. They're on the road to Atlanta.
Coming up next, the Women's Double Trap Championship.
Squad ready?
I know.
Well, Sherry Lakeet has been on the U.S. Olympic team for 3 years, and she's been one of the top shooters in ski trap and double trap for quite some time.
Sherry Legage started off with a lost and lost.
Denise Morrison is a member of the U.S. Army Reserve on the U.S. team for 7 years.
That's Joetta Novinsky shooting right there. And she breaks them both. Ellie Shadd is up with them.
They're getting into their rhythm now.
Ellie caught that right crosser doing real well there. Well, Kim decided that she wanted to make the Olympics in Atlanta, and she just flat stopped shooting skeet. She's done nothing but shoot women's double trap.
And she goes into this final leading by 13 targets.
Right. I tell you, Joetta Novinsky is having a great round here. She is straight so far. You notice the shooters get into a rhythm not only within themselves, but within a squad. There's a certain rhythm, and they move from one to the other without a hesitation. Terry Wenzel shoots for the Army Marksmanship Unit, and she's been shooting quite a while.
For mental preparation, I do a lot of visualization. You just kind of have to feel the confidence within yourself and know that you can shoot the targets. And you just have to have the courage to go out and do it.
Kim continues to shoot well. She broke both those targets there. So this really is the first of 3 events, and they'll combine the scores of those, and that's going to determine who gets to shoot. There are only 2 slots available for women shooters in double trap in Atlanta.
Yeah, every extra target they get here can mean the difference between going to Atlanta and staying home.
That's right.
One thing about Kim's rhythm, her timing is almost identical on every pair. I think if you had a stopwatch, you would be down to the second.
Try to just get my foot stance and what I'm going to see, my lead and everything, you know. Remember to tell myself to stare at the target, you know, just little things. I've been dreaming about Atlanta and going and winning the gold, so it's all part of it, I hope.
Tell you another thing that is making this all the more remarkable is this is windy out here today.
Yeah, it is. The wind is bouncing those targets around. They do have a good background. They're looking right into Cheyenne Mountain as their background, and it's a gorgeous day. But the wind is whipping off these mountains and it's bouncing those targets around. The key to this, of course, is being able to keep your concentration through the entire event. Never let your mind wander. Always be focused on what you're doing. Okay, last shot. Here comes Kim Rhodey. No bird. She's going to have to shoot that pair again. All right, she's ready. Great round. Looks like Kimberly Rhodey is going to be the winner here. 16 years old, high school student from California, well on her way to Atlanta.
Coming up next, the Rifle and Pistol Championships. Precision and a rock-steady hold are what international rifle and pistol shooting are all about. Success in these events is measured by the fraction of an inch. And to win, a shooter and his equipment must come together as a single, ultra-accurate unit. And that's especially true in the running target event, where shooters face a moving target with a bullseye about the size of a pencil eraser. In the finals of the running target match, the top 8 competitors advance to a 10-shot fast run stage where each target is in view for only 2.5 seconds as it moves across a track 10 meters away. Shooters must start with their rifles at hip level and can only mount their guns once the target is in view. Here, the challenge is not only accuracy, but also shooting quickly and decisively.
I like running target because it's exciting. It's a lot more exciting than the other rifle events to me. It's quick, it moves very fast, and you have to have your head in it at all times. The important parts of a good mental game would be concentration and a very good visualization. You're just working very hard on visualizing and seeing your next shot happen and watching a 10 in front of you just make it happen before you do it.
I like it more than like maybe the other shooting disciplines because there's a little bit more action, the target's moving, and anything can happen.
Going into the final round, Adam Sadoff had a 3-point lead over Kobe Holland and a 5-point lead over Lon Saunders. Knowing that he had to make up ground, Holland started off with a great shot and quickly closed the gap on Sadoff. Saunders also knew he had to shoot a near-perfect score to advance in these finals. For Lon, every 10th of a point counted if he hoped to overtake the leaders. Adam started off slow, but closed out the match with a string of bullseyes to win the match. Saunders jumped into second place, with Holland taking third. In few sports is mental attitude as important as it is in shooting. The best equipment and countless hours of practice are only part of the equation. The other half is concentration, getting into that elusive zone where the shooter's total focus is on the target. Air rifle is the ultimate precision event in Olympic rifle shooting. The targets are set out at 10 meters, and the bullseye is literally no larger than the period at the end of a sentence. In the women's finals, the top 8 competitors fire 10 additional shots to determine the medal winners.
Attention. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start.
It was an exceptionally tight race in this air rifle final. Elizabeth Borland had a 3-point lead over Anne-Marie Pfiffner, and 3 other competitors, Jamie Dickman, Nancy Napolsky, and Tammy Forster, were within striking distance. With scores announced after every shot, each shooter is left to deal with the pressure in her own way.
And just concentrate on shooting perfect shots. My main goal was just to focus and do everything right, get my fundamentals correct, follow through, visualize before each shot. You've got to do everything perfectly.
After the first few shots, it was clear that both Borland and Pfiffner were feeling the pressure. Sensing the opening, Napolsky, Dickman, and Forster came on strong. And by the middle of the match, it was these 3 shooters who were now in contention, while Borland and Pfiffner fell off the pace. Over the last few shots, these three competitors traded places for the lead, and it was clear that this final would come down to the last shot. Jamie Dickman finished with a 10.3 to take first, just 0.5 of a point ahead of Tammy Forster. Nancy took the bronze, coming in only 0.3 of a point behind Tammy. For Jamie Dickman, it was a great come-from-behind victory.
When I first went into the final, I was looking at how many points behind I was, and I figured 5 points, that's a lot, but, you know, sometimes it's kind of a miracle, but it all depends on what the other person shoots, too.
Coming up, men's rifle and pistol championships. Each year, the Chevrolet Motor Division is proud to name the Chevy Truck Shooter of the Year. And on behalf of our friends at Chevy Truck, it's our pleasure to announce the 1995 winner, Doug Caney. Still in his 20s, Doug has nonetheless already jumped into the forefront of America's top guns. In 1995, he was part of the winning team at the Chevy Truck Sportsman's Team Challenge. Doug then turned around and won the Masters International Shooting Championship later in the year. We're pleased to present this award to one of America's very best all-around marksmen. And together with everyone at Chevy Truck, we wish Doug great shooting success in the years ahead. The essence of precision marksmanship is the free rifle event, a multi-stage course of fire that tests both the shooter's skill and endurance.
It's about like playing a round of golf. It takes about the same amount of time, maybe about the same amount of energy. I think there's a lot more pain involved in the free rifle, though. A lot more pain.
It's like a marathon event, and I think that's a special challenge in it right there. There are other shooting events, but none of them last as long as the free rifle three-position events. The match goes for 5 hours, and I consider it grueling. There is very little room for error, and that's all part of the game. That's why we train so much, and to eliminate that error, that's the whole ball game right there.
It was a close match going into the men's finals, with Olympic veteran Bob Foth on top with a 3-point lead over Glenn Dubis. Ken Johnson was in third, 6 points behind.
When I'm behind in the finals, that's something I enjoy in a way. I enjoy making up the ground. I enjoy looking at the electronic scoreboard and seeing where I sit, and that motivates me to shoot better.
Just like other sports, a lot of people do this for recreation, but when you're at the top of the game, you are living for the next competition. The big one is the Olympics, and that's what everyone's shooting for, myself included.
Even after hours of competition, these shooters know the match isn't over till the last shot is fired. Current leader, Bob Foth.
Well, the real challenge in free rifle in this event is staying with it for 2 full courses of fire. Each one is 4.5 hours, and then we come back after the second one and shoot another 10-shot final late in the afternoon. So a big part of it is a survival match. I go through a very set routine on each shot. I start by relaxing. I'll close my eyes, take a deep breath. Then I load the rifle, raise it, bring it toward the target, and then I take another breath or two. And as I settle down and the rifle comes onto the target, then I'm working on shifting my focus exactly to the target and to breaking the shot.
With a 3-point advantage, Johnson and Dubis knew that Bob was in the driver's seat in these finals.
I thought I had some chance, but not too much. Bob always shoots a pretty good final, or at least he normally shoots good final. You can never be sure what's going to happen in these things. 3 points is a pretty good lead. That's a comfortable lead. 1 point, well, there's a lot of chance there to catch a guy.
But Bob didn't waver in the final round and took the gold by 5 points. For Foth, who took the silver medal in the 1992 Olympics, this was an important victory, and it brought him one step closer on the road to Atlanta. In rapid-fire pistol, the top 8 shooters shoot a final round that consists of 2 5-shot series that last only 4 seconds each. The score from this final round is added to the match score to determine the medal winners. And just getting into the final round takes near-perfect scores.
Well, the distance to the target is 25 meters, and the size of the 10 ring is approximately the size of a silver dollar. It's going to take about a 586 to 590 out of a 600. to win this one.
Going into the finals, two shooters were tied with scores of 586. But co-leader and former team coach Dan Yuga knew that anything could happen in the finals.
I consider that rapid fire shooting is probably the most challenging between the pistol disciplines. And this is because you shoot one series of 5 shots at once. So sometimes a certain mistake or something will influence the whole series. Here, you get on the firing line and the range officer tells you load, you have a minute, and you have to shoot.
For a rapid fire, you incorporate movement and speed. At the fastest speed, you're shooting 5 shots in 4 seconds, so basically shooting 1 shot in less than a second. Not only are you incorporating a mental challenge, but more of a physical challenge.
Young Bob Bell was only 1 point behind the leaders, but he knew it would be tough to overtake either of these veterans.
The fact that you have to shoot when they say shoot, that's the hardest part. I didn't feel any different in the final than I did in the first 2 half courses of the match as far as pressure was concerned. I was a little nervous for the whole thing, to be quite honest.
Bell fired 2 great series and put the pressure on both Ayugo and Suarez to match his near-perfect runs. Ed Suarez, who now shoots for the Minnesota National Guard, responded by stringing together 2 great runs himself and ended up with a final score of 98.3. Dan now knew just how high the bar had been raised. And this 3-time Olympic shooter and former coach responded with cool nerves and a steady hand, firing a total score of 98.5 to beat Suarez by 0.2 of a point.
Nice either way. I was happy for you.
Well, Dan, that's about as close as it gets. You won the rapid-fire pistol by 0.2 of a point.
Yes, that's true. That's a very close result. And what was interesting about it is that I was on the firing line with my former students that I coached for over 10 years in the United States. It's nice really to be together with them and look forward that all of us will do good in the future matches.
While fame and fortune don't go hand in hand with international shooting, dedication and commitment certainly do. In the true spirit of amateur athletics, our U.S. shooters have come a long way toward becoming world-class competitors.
Well, that's certainly true. Our chances of medaling in the Olympics have never looked better. And we certainly wish the best of luck to all our shooters who'll be competing in Atlanta.
I hope you enjoyed the show and will join us again on the next edition of Chevy Trucks Shooting Sports America.
Chevy Trucks Shooting Sports America. Brought to you by Chevy Trucks, Cabela's, and Federal.